Hi, welcome to Talking Books and Stuff, the program that talks all about books and writing and stuff. Here's your host, Dennis Rimmer.
And welcome back to Talking Books and Writing and Stuff. And today, all the way from West Yorkshire in the UK, we have with us author E.M. Kkoulla with her Ships of Britannia series. We're going to start talking about that in a moment. But first of all, how have things been for you over there across the pond, as they say, for the last, 18 months? Same as over here?
Yes, I'm afraid so. We've had at least 3 lockdowns and 4 waves of COVID. It all started pretty much, I think, when everybody else's did, a year last March. And, slowly, I'm hoping it's getting better.
Same here, except now everybody's worried about the 4th wave coming over here. But that's okay. We won't worry about that because this is going to be up there in podcast land forever and a day. So when people listen to it 2 years from now, they'll say, "Oh, what are those people talking about? There's no epidemics."
I hope so.
Let's hope so. Your writing career, the book I have in front of me is Wrath of Olympus. It's by E.M. Kkoulla, and it's the Ships of Britannia. Now, this one is book 1, so I understand there's a bit of a series going on here. Is that right?
Well, yes. When I started writing it, I'd never even thought of a series. And then it just kept going. So, Wrath of Olympus is book 1, as you've said. And the second book is called Prey of the Huntress. And that came out in June. And this autumn, there's going to be book 3, The Trials of Neptune. Probably it'll come out when I'm moving house, because things like that happen to me all the time. And I'm about 3/4 of the way through book 4 at the moment. It's just grown and grown.
It's rolling and rolling, just like the mighty Saskatchewan River. E.M. Kkoulla is the author with us from the UK, and the Wrath of Olympus, the first book. It's the Ships of Britannia series, but maybe you can tell us a little bit about your background, your early life. Where were you born and raised, and went to school, all that kind of stuff?
Well, I was actually born, like my mother before me, in Salford, which is a city in southeast Lancashire, and it's right up against Manchester, which most people have heard of these days. Manchester's sort of swallowed everything up. But I grew up in the borough of Swinton and Pendlebury, which then was swallowed by Salford. So I'm a Lancashire lass. And if you've ever seen the pictures of L.S. Lowry with the industrial landscape and mills, that's really where I grew up. I didn't see a cow till I was 11.
Oh, well, there you go. And I told you earlier when we were talking the other day that actually, my grandparents on my father's side are from Southport, so that's part of Lancashire as well, correct?
It certainly is. So, yes, we have Lancashire blood in both of us, though I'm a bit of a mixture, because, as you might have guessed, my dad wasn't from Lancashire. Kkoulla is a Greek Cypriot name. It's Kkoulla for the females and Kkoulas for the men. And he came over in the mid-1950s and met my mum in a coffee bar. It was all very romantic. He gave her extra froth on her cappuccino, apparently.
They had cappuccino back then?
Oh, they did in the coffee bars, because, of course, my mum and dad were first teenagers, so it was all rock around the clock and, rock and roll, and just pre-Beatles. So that's where they met up, in Amigo's coffee bar.
Pre-Beatles, that would be more like Cliff Richard and Tommy Steele and Adam Faith and those kind of guys.
That's right, yes. So Cliff Richard, of course, very, very big in the UK.
He was big in Canada too, but not as much in the US. And it's funny how that worked out. Oh, he had lots of hits over here, just like he did in England. But Why he didn't make it as big in the U.S., who knows? Who cares? We had him. We don't care.
Yes, it was supposed to be the answer to Elvis, but I suppose he was over here.
Right. And so you went to school. Now, how did school work for you? It's a different system than we have, I think.
Yes, we started, well, when I went to school, you started the term you turned 5. So I was, just before I was 5, about a week before, I trotted into school after Christmas, and I had 3 years of infant school. And then what you do is you go up to junior school, which is 7 to 11, and then you go on to high school or senior school, which is 11 to 16. And then you can, in those days, at 16, you could leave. Nowadays, you have to stay on a bit longer. Then I went to college at 16, and then I went to university at 18, and eventually I did a postgraduate in teaching, and I ended up teaching for over 30 years, but I don't do that anymore.
And now you do your writing, and I understand the Wrath of Olympus is the Coffee Pot Book Club Award winner?
Well, it did get recommended. I wouldn't say it was a winner, but they gave it a very good review.
So tell us about the genesis of your series that, like you said, is now well into book 4 of the Ships of Britannia series. What inspired this whole thing?
Well, I've always loved tales about monsters and pirates, and I used to watch all the old Ray Harryhausen films, and my very favourite film ever is Jason and the Argonauts. I used to watch it on the telly when I was a kid. We had black and white TV, and I just loved the creatures. So you had all sorts. You had the Hydra, you had the big giant Talos, you had the talking ship, very important. And I think it all sort of sank down into my subconscious. So together with Tales of the Greek Heroes that my mum bought me when I was little, and all the monster films, and plus I like history, so it's sort of a giant mashup. Somebody said to me, what is it about? I said, well, it's sort of Roman steampunk meets the 18th century industrial revolution with monsters and gods.
Oh, well, a perfect combination. And when you first released the first book, Wrath of Olympus, kind of nervous were you a little bit to see how it would be accepted, I guess?
Oh, yes. Especially as I went the self-publishing route.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know what to expect. I tried to learn about it as much as possible. There are some fantastic authors out there giving advice. And I tried to do all my research and got a website and did everything they said, and then got the book out and then waited to see what would happen. But I knew that marketing is the key when you're an indie. It's not like you've got a publishing company to do everything for you. So it's been an interesting journey, Dennis.
Yes, we've done the same thing ourselves. So what was the hardest lesson you think you had to learn going the self-publishing way?
I think that it's that you have to do everything yourself, and it's a good idea to get as much information about the industry as possible. Even so, there are things that trip you up. Definitely, and I get this from talking to other authors as well, marketing is the key. If nobody knows that you've got the book out there, then nobody's going to buy it. Also, you need a professional product. So it's a lot of hard work, or as I said, marketing is like pushing an elephant up Mount Everest whilst you're wearing stilettos.
That's a good way to do it, that's right. So did you go to bookstore, or how did you distribute your book or books?
Well, at the moment, it's on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited. I'm hoping to go wide at some point, but that would take an awful lot more research. I'm not quite sure how to do it yet. So, although I would love for it to be in bookshops, at the moment it's the major retailer.
What we did was we went to a lot of shops on consignment, so that worked out pretty good for us. So they would take five
Oh,
books,
well, I might, yeah.
and then they would, you know, take their 40%, and we get the rest eventually. So sometimes it takes a while to collect, and sometimes you don't collect at all. I think I've got some books out in stores that I'm not seeing any money from. Oh well, because you need the cash to pay back the expenses, if nothing else, right?
Oh, definitely. Yes, people say to me, "Are you making any money yet?" And I say, "Well, give me a few more years, definitely."
That's right.
Because being indie, as you'll know, if you can publish for absolutely nothing on KDP. You could do your own cover, you could do your own proofreading, or get friends to do it for you. But I decided to hire a designer for the covers. She's absolutely fantastic. And I also pay for editing and proofreading, and it's not cheap. But I think you get a more professional product because that's what people are looking for these days.
Well, that's like anything else. There is a lot of, as they call it, or we call it, or you call it, indie um, publications for books, for records, CDs, music. But of course, if you want to be the best, you have to compete with the best. If you've got a rock band, let's say, you have to be as good as the Beatles. Or try to. You got to put out a product that's equal when people go to the store and pick it up or order it online. Yeah, you have to be. You have to be number one. You have to beat number one. So that's a good point. Is you got to make your product as professional as possible while also doing it on your own.
Well, that's it. And I'm afraid I just don't have the design skills to do a cover. And being a fantasy author, I wanted something that stood out. I know there's a lot of abstract stuff on fantasy covers these days, and I wanted pictures because I really don't like it when I look at a book and I can't tell the genre and I can't tell anything about the story. I prefer to have something jump out, hit me in the face, and say, "Hey, this is what the story's about. You might like it."
That's right, and I'm looking at the cover right now, and it's very nice. It's Wrath of Olympus, Ships of Britannia, Book 1, and you've got like a figurehead, a masthead figure. There's ships in the background, and then a young girl in the forefront. And the story is about Maya Abella? Is that the name?
Yeah, Maya Abella, that's right. Yes, because she was born in May, so that's her name.
In the province of Britannia, ruled by descendants of King Arthur and on the brink of an industrial revolution, young Maya is on the run. So there we go. We have to find out what happens to her. And does she carry on throughout the whole series?
She does, yes, though there are other characters that come in as well. Yes, she's not going to have a very good time, I ought to warn you. She's got a lot on her plate, and everything is out to get her.
That's right. And I like it. You've got the ancient Romans, or the descendants of King Arthur on the brink of the Industrial Revolution. So like you said, it's a Roman steampunk meets the Industrial Revolution. That's a fantastic concept. E.M. Kkoulla, what is your daily writing routine like then?
Well, I usually do my writing in the afternoons and evenings because, to tell you the truth, since I retired, I'm not fit for much in the morning. I prefer to have a leisurely morning. After years and years of waking up and getting up at 6:15 to get to work for 8, I've decided that is not on the cards anymore. So it takes me a while to wake up. And then I go upstairs, where I'm currently living. I've got a room. I'm fortunate enough to be able to write sort of secluded away from my husband. He has his own room. And I sit in a great big leather armchair, and I usually put Spotify on with something suitable that's appropriate to the scene I'm writing. And then I disappear for a few hours and then surface thinking, my goodness, where did the time go?
Now, do you write on a laptop, a pen and paper, a typewriter? How do you do it? The initial first draft?
Well, yeah, the first draft of Wrath actually wrote out longhand. It was sort of therapy for me as well. I just sat down with a nice notepad, because I love stationery and card and things, a nice pen, and I just started writing. And I filled about 3 or 4 notebooks. Then when I went over it, I got my laptop out. I thought, no, there's no way I can organise all this information. So I have an old laptop that I pound away on.
Oh, we have something in common. Both my wife and I like pens. We were always looking for good pens. We have a collection that's, I don't know, drawers full of pens and good paper, good stationery. So we're writing right now by collaboration on a story of our life, and it is being written out by pen and paper, and then we'll transfer it to a laptop just like you. So there you go. What kind of advice, E.M. Kkoulla, would you give to those starting out in the business now that you've kind of learned the ropes a bit?
I would say definitely take advice. I read David Gorgren's books. Now he's full of advice. A lot of it is free. He has his own channel, and he knows the industry. There are other people out there as well. And just find out as much as you can, because there are pitfalls, and there are a lot of people out there, Dennis, you'll know this, who are so willing to take your money and perhaps not give that much in return. So you're sort of picking your way through the shark pool, if you see what I mean, trying to avoid all the pitfalls.
And how can we find your books then? You have a website, so let us know about that, please.
Yes, my website is emkkoulla.com, and on it you'll find information about me, information about the books and the series, and news about what's coming up. There's also a chance to sign up for my newsletter and get a free 28,000-word novella, which is set in the same world as Ships of Britannia. It's called Son of the Sea, and a couple of familiar characters crop up in it. I absolutely loved writing that. Also, I send out a monthly newsletter with free short stories and things. I've got another one that I've written called Dark Blessings, which is my wonderful agent Milo, who wasn't supposed to be in it for very long, but he took over, and his friends from the Portus Polis, who are solving crimes. So that's one place. And if you just go to Amazon, go to the books and type in Wrath of Olympus, it should come up first, or maybe second, but mostly first.
And it's E.M. Kkoulla. So it's all one word, right? EMKKOULLA?
Yes, .com.
Okay, let's repeat that. EMKKOULLA. .com, of course. And tell us again about the Ships of Britannia series, a quick rundown, please.
Well, this series is set in an alternative medieval Britain, which is still part of the Roman Empire, though a lot of people wish it wasn't. So, because the Romans never left, they stayed in Britannia because King Arthur, Artorius Magnus I, with the Britannic mages, went to save the Roman Empire from all the Goths and the Vandals. So the empire hung on in the form that it had previously. And also because there wasn't the interruption, there weren't the invasions with Saxons and Angles and things, so there's no English actually. The empire has advanced technologically, because when you think that the first steam engine actually was invented by a Greek in Egypt, I believe, thousands of years ago. So it sort of accelerated. So it's our 13th century, but not as you would know it. Also, women who are drafted into the Navy to become the souls of ships. So that's the central premise.
And you also have a little dictionary, or not a dictionary, like definitions of the towns, like London is Londinium, and Portus is Portsmouth, and I can't say it. Chichester is something else. I can't pronounce it. So,
Novi Argus. That's right, yes. As far as possible, I've used the actual names. And if it's a place that nobody knows the name of, I've sort of taken the derivation of what the Saxons or somebody called it, and then tried to translate it into Latin. So, and you've got things like Hibernia is an island. We don't go there. It's full of nasty fae. Caledonia, Scotland. Gaul is France, and so on.
Kind of like it was in the old days.
Yes,
Yeah.
pretty much. So, unlike a lot of fantasy writers who make up their own worlds entirely and have these wonderful maps like George R.R. Martin or J.R. Tolkien, mine is very firmly, it's Britain and Europe. So at least that bit's easier.
And E.M. Kkoulla has been with us. EMKKOULLA.com. Look it up, get her newsletter. Join the ranks and files of the fans of the Ships of Britannia series. And we thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much, Dennis. It's been an honour and a pleasure.
Thank you for visiting with us today. This is Talking Books and Stuff with Dennis Rimmer. Contact him at dennis@talkingbooks.tk. Thank you, and may all the good news be yours. Oh, and don't forget to check out his book, The Great Canadian Notebook, available across Canada and at amazon.ca.